Welcome back to the deep dive. I want to start today by taking you to a place I like to call the graveyard of good ideas.
Oh, I know this place.
It's metaphorical, of course, but I think we've all been there. You're sitting in a coffee shop, or maybe you're back in a university classroom, and you get this concept. It just feels electric. You map it out on a napkin, you tell a friend.
Everyone nods and says, "That's amazing. We should totally do that."
Exactly. It's the honeymoon phase of an idea. Everything's possible. Nothing costs money yet.
And then,
Absolute silence. 6 months later, that napkin is in the trash, the energy is gone, and the idea is just dead. It's buried under a pile of I didn't know where to start, or
yeah,
the paperwork was just too hard.
it's a universal thing, especially I find in academic or, bureaucratic settings.
Hmm.
The amount of friction it takes to get from an abstract thought to a concrete reality is just, it's too high for most people to overcome.
Hmm.
We really underestimate the sheer weight of inertia.
Right. And that's why today's deep dive is so fascinating. We are cracking open a document titled How L.A.W.S. Started as an Idea and Became Something Real.
Okay.
Now, let me tell you, if you judge this by its cover, you might think we're just talking about the history of some student law review, which honestly sounds a little like watching paint dry.
On the surface, yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like minutes from a faculty meeting. But having gone through the material, I can promise you this is not about a law review. This is a battle plan.
It really is. It's a case study on entrepreneurship, on navigating, and eventually just bypassing bureaucracy and using this very specific framework called L.E.A.D. to turn a vague what if into a functioning juggernaut.
And it gets surprisingly gritty. I mean, we aren't just talking about filing paperwork here. We've got special filing cabinets where ideas go to die.
We've got hostile takeovers.
Yeah, and a massive structural pivot that saved the whole project from basically imploding.
So if you've ever had an idea that you couldn't quite get off the ground, or if you've ever felt stuck in, say, middle management hell, this one is for you. Let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
So the story begins with our narrator, who we'll just call the builder, and a student named Ryan. It's just a random conversation. And Ryan drops this question. What if we created an undergraduate law review for Central Michigan University?
Okay, so in a normal academic setting, this is where the professor just nods, says, "That's a nice ambition," and then, checks their watch.
Right. And to be fair to the builder, Ryan didn't exactly have the best marketing pitch. He even had a name for it. And you have to get ready for this acronym. He wanted to call it UGLR. UGLR, Undergraduate Law Review.
UGLR, it's functional.
Functional. It sounds like a noise your stomach makes after you eat bad seafood.
Oh. Point taken. It lacks a certain gravitas. But the name wasn't the real problem. The plan was the problem. Ryan's initial goal was super traditional. He wanted to get the university's CMU, in this case, to fund it, to sanction it, and provide all the infrastructure. He wanted to play by the rules.
And this is where the builder just hits the brakes. The source material is really honest here. The builder wasn't jumping for joy. In fact, they were pretty hesitant. They describe it as one of those ideas students toss around.
Right. It sounds ambitious, but it's usually just talk.
Exactly. And there's also a deeper skepticism here from the builder. The text mentions they were suffering from institutional fatigue. They'd dealt with red tape before. They had seen their own good ideas denied in the past. There's a sense of weariness, Why start this massive project just to serve an institution that only creates obstacles?
Yeah, and the builder explicitly says they weren't interested in a project that just served one student's resume.
But, and here is the twist, they couldn't shake it. The source uses this really specific phrase. The idea kept tapping them on the shoulder.
I love that image, the tap.
It's relatable, isn't it? You try to ignore an idea, you walk away from it, but it just keeps poking you.
That's the sign of a problem that actually needs solving. But here's the critical piece of context we need to understand. The builder wasn't just randomly annoyed by this idea. At that time, they were actively building something called the L.E.A.D. platform and the Inspired workflow.
Okay, we see this acronym L.E.A.D. popping up a lot in the notes. We should probably define this for everyone listening so it's not just alphabet soup. What is the significance of L.E.A.D. here?
So think of L.E.A.D. not as a product, but more like an operating system. The builder describes themselves as a systems thinker. They were trying to create a framework where student-driven work could exist independent of the university's slow-moving bureaucracy.
Ah, okay.
So when Ryan comes along with this UGLR idea, the builder doesn't see a magazine, they see a guinea pig.
A test subject.
Exactly. It was a raw opportunity to test this new framework. Could they use the L.E.A.D. system to build something professional without the university's help.
So they stop just talking about it. The source says, the minute you stop talking about an idea and start building around it, it starts becoming real.
And that is such a powerful mental shift. It's moving from being an applicant to being an architect.
But they haven't bypassed the system yet. Ryan tries to do it the right way first. He organizes a registered student organization, an RSO, to try and get traction within the university.
Which is the standard path. You fill out the forms, you get a faculty advisor, you ask for a budget, you know the drill.
And then they hit what I'm calling the bureaucratic wall.
The source material describes this so vividly. Emails just went unanswered, conversations stalled. It's the classic silence of a large organization.
And this leads the builder to introduce a concept that I think is brilliant. It's called containment.
Yes.
Mm.
This is a fascinating insight into organizational psychology. The builder realizes that university politics prioritize containing ideas rather than expanding them.
Wait, unpack that a little bit. Containment sounds like they're trying to manage a virus, not a law club.
In a way, they are. To a large institution, a new idea is a risk. It's a liability. It requires resources, oversight, insurance. So the system's immune response is to contain it. They don't explicitly say no because that would cause a conflict.
Right.
Instead, they just file it away and hope you get tired and leave.
And that brings us to the special filing cabinet.
The place where the UGLR proposal went to die.
Whether it was a literal metal cabinet or just, a deleted folder on a desktop, the message was clear. The university quietly slipped the proposal away, hoping it would never be seen again.
And for 99% of people, that is the end of the story. You try, the authority says nothing, and you give up. You go back to the coffee shop and complain about how they won't let you do anything.
But our builder, no, they took it personally. They refused to watch a friend and a good idea fail just because the powers that be couldn't be bothered.
This is the pivot point. This is where the builder decides to bypass the administration entirely.
They decide to build a place for a law review with teeth. I love that phrasing. With teeth. It implies they aren't asking for permission anymore.
Right, so first things first, UGLR has got to go.
Thank goodness.
They rebrand it to L.A.W.S. They give it a backbone. They design a professional logo. They move the whole conversation from someday this might happen to here is the launch date.
It's a total identity shift. The source notes that the builder realized this wasn't just a cute project, it became a necessary space. Universities were just unequipped to help students find their voice in this specific way, so L.A.W.S. had to exist to fill that gap.
And notice what happened when they stopped asking for permission. They built a website. They established a cadence. They looked professional. By the time the university even noticed, L.A.W.S. already looked more legitimate than the official clubs.
It's the ultimate act like you belong moment. They didn't have the funding, but they had the branding.
And because they weren't asking for money anymore, the containment strategy just failed. You can't contain something that doesn't need your resources.
So we're riding high. We bypassed the university. We have a cool logo. We have a system. Everything is great, right? Roll credits.
You would think so. But this deep dive has a second act. And honestly, this is where the story goes from just inspiring to really educational.
Good crisis.
And surprisingly, the crisis didn't come from the administration this time. It came from inside the house.
This part just blew my mind. You expect the villain to be the grumpy dean or the paperwork, but the source says student governance proved to be a point of instability.
It is a hard lesson in leadership. Just because something is student-led doesn't mean it's inherently stable. The builder details some really chaotic problems.
Chaotic is the word. We're talking missed deadlines. We're talking a complete loss of vision. And then the phrase that just jumped out at me, hostile takeover attempts.
It sounds like a corporate boardroom drama, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, can you imagine this? You're building a student law review, and suddenly you're fending off a hostile takeover from a 20-year-old.
But think about the dynamics. You've created something valuable. It has prestige now. And in a vacuum of power, ambitious people want to control that prestige. Who gets to be editor-in-chief? Who decides which articles get published? If that structure isn't solid, politics take over immediately.
The builder actually admits they learned a hard truth here. They realized why the university used containment.
Exactly. The quote is, in order to maintain, you must contain. The builder realized that the university wasn't just being mean, they were trying to prevent exactly this kind of chaos. Total freedom without structure just led to a mess.
So we have a total collapse of the initial student governance model. The student-led dream is turning into a nightmare. What does the builder do? Do they scrap the whole thing?
No, they iterate. This is the key to the entrepreneurial mindset in the text. They changed the trajectory entirely.
Oh, so?
They moved it from being a student-led initiative,
Mm-hmm.
which implies students run the infrastructure, to being student-authored on a cross-university-led platform.
Hmm. That sounds like a subtle semantic difference. Student-led versus student-authored. Why does that matter so much?
Oh, it's massive. It's the difference between asking the players to build the stadium versus just asking them to play the game.
Ah, okay.
In that first model, the students had to manage the website, the legal structure, the governance things they weren't qualified to do.
And things they fought over.
Right. In the student-authored model, the builder and the L.E.A.D system took over the stadium. They provided the infrastructure, the deadlines, the editorial standards. The students were then freed up to do what they actually wanted to do in the first place, write and edit legal articles.
So the builder essentially became a benevolent dictator of the infrastructure so that the students could have freedom in the content.
Precisely. They centralized the operations to decentralize the creativity.
Yeah.
And that structural change provided the stability they needed. It stopped the hostile takeovers because the keys to the kingdom weren't up for grabs anymore.
That makes so much sense. And because of that structural change, the source describes the outcome as L.A.W.S becoming a student-facing law review juggernaut.
Juggernaut. It's a strong word. It implies an unstoppable force.
So we've gone from UGLR dying in a filing cabinet to a juggernaut. And the builder actually breaks down the formula. They give us a list of 5 things that built L.A.W.S, and they argue these 5 things build all real things.
I think we should go through these. They sound deceptively simple, but given the story we just heard, they carry a lot of weight.
Okay, number 1, show up.
It sounds so basic, but remember the graveyard of good ideas? Showing up is the filter that removes, what, 50% of people? Ryan showed up. The builder showed up. Most people stay in the coffee shop talking about the napkin.
Number 2, take the next small step.
Not the giant leap, not the finish line, just the next step. If they had looked at the mountain of work required to build a cross-university legal journal, they would have quit. Instead, they just said, okay, let's make a logo. Then, let's get a URL. It prevents the overwhelm.
Number 3, fix the things that break.
And things will break,
Yeah.
like the governance model we just discussed. A lot of founders would have seen that hostile takeover attempt and just said, this isn't worth it. The builders saw it as a mechanic, sees a broken engine. It's just a part that needed replacing.
Number 4, keep going.
Persistence. The silence from the university lasted for months. The infighting lasted for months. You just have to outlast the friction.
And number 5, don't quit when it gets messy.
And that is the hardest one. That hostile takeover phase was messy. The silence was messy. That's usually where good ideas die in the mess.
It really emphasizes that success isn't a straight line. It's this jagged, messy thing.
And notice what isn't on the list.
Yeah.
Have a genius idea is not on the list.
No.
Get permission is definitely not on the list.
True. UGLR was not a genius idea. It was a standard idea. The genius was in the execution.
The builder concludes by saying the success wasn't a miracle. It was the result of plugging an idea into the L.E.A.D system and finding someone who was willing to take the idea seriously.
It's empowering in a way. It removes the magic and replaces it with process. It suggests that if you have the right filing system for your ideas and the guts to use it, you can build anything.
It demystifies success. It's not about lightning striking. It's about having a framework that can withstand the no from the administration and the chaos from the participants.
So bringing this back to our listener, we've been talking about law reviews and universities, but this applies to everything, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Corporate projects, community organizing, starting a small business, the dynamics are identical. You have an idea, the system tries to contain it, and you have to decide if you're going to let it die or if you're going to build a new structure for it.
And I want to circle back to the tap.
The shoulder tap.
Yeah. The builder said they pay attention when something keeps tapping them on the shoulder. I think a lot of us feel those taps. Maybe it's a project at work, could be better. Maybe it's a side hustle. But we brush them off because we're busy or we're scared or we think, who am I to build this?
Or we think, I don't have the funding or I don't have permission. My boss hasn't approved it.
Right. But this story suggests that if it's tapping you, it's probably yours to build. And waiting for the special filing cabinet to open is a total waste of time.
You don't need the permission. You need a system.
It's also a lesson in adaptability. If the builder had stuck to the original plan, that RSO model L.A.W.S would have imploded during the governance crisis. They had to be willing to kill their darling.
Yes, they had to kill UGLR, they had to kill the student-led governance model, they had to prioritize the survival of the mission over the survival of the original plan.
That's deep. The mission matters more than the plan.
Always. The plan is just a hypothesis. The mission is the truth.
So we've tracked this whole journey from a random conversation about a clunky acronym
To the bureaucratic wall of containment.
to the pivot and the rebrand
To the internal crisis, the hostile takeover, and the structural fix.
to the final juggernaut status. It's a wild ride. And I think the biggest takeaway for me is the definition of real. The title is How L.A.W.S. Became Something Real.
Real means it survives without you constantly propping it up. It has its own gravity. It exists in the world whether the university likes it or not.
And getting there requires that 5-step formula. Show up, take the step, fix what breaks, keep going, and don't quit.
Simple to say, hard to do, but clearly worth it.
Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave you, the listener, with a thought. We've been talking about the builder and Ryan, but really we're talking about you.
We are.
Because I guarantee you, right now, there is something tapping on your shoulder. Maybe it's a small tap, maybe it's annoying you, maybe you've put it in your own mental special filing cabinet to deal with someday.
You've told yourself, I'll get to it when things settle down, or I'll do it when I have support.
But the question is, are you keeping that idea in the talking phase? Are you just buying it drinks at the coffee shop? Or are you ready to start the messy, frustrating, complicated work of actually building it?
And more importantly, are you ready to change the structure entirely halfway through, if that's what it takes to survive?
That's the real challenge. Because as we learned today, the idea is just the spark, the system. The system is what makes it fire.
Well said.
Thanks for diving in with us. We'll see you next time.